Have a seat on your porcelain throne. It's time to talk some shit on the Powell movement.
Welcome to the Powell movement. I'm your host, Mike Powell, and this week, it's another week with so much fucked up shit happening in the world. While I stayed away from mentioning all the terrible stuff that was going on last week in my intro, I can't ignore it again this week. And I wasn't ignoring it last week, I was just too lazy to talk about it. But what the fuck is going on with the world right now? I mean, I've been saying for years that it's never okay to root for people to die or to celebrate someone's death, for everyone except for bin Laden. That was kind of the unofficial rule in the world, and it always should be. I mean, sure, I understand rooting for rapists and pedophiles to be dead, but I'm not talking about that. The guy who thinks he's the king of the world, our supreme ruler, just said this about the guy that investigated him years back. Robert Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. I mean, what in the actual fuck? This is the president of the United States saying that. Kids hear that shit, that he's happy that someone's dead. Someone who spent his whole life dedicating service to this country. I can't believe the president would say that. I mean, while I get that he only got to where he is in the world because he's a smarter man than almost everyone on this planet, and he's a better businessman compared to all the businessmen in the world, and he's honorable and compassionate, actually, he's none of that shit. We all know that. He's a terrible human being. And the only trait that any single one of us would want is being rich. And that's not really a trait. I mean, he was born into that. I don't know one person who voted for him or not who would want their kids to be anything like our guy. I mean, could you imagine having a kid that always acted like a child, a full-on baby, and never grew out of it? We can all imagine that because we're living it, just not in our houses. It really sucks. But what's even crazier is that we're talking about a draft. Are you kidding me? The days of God, family, country are crazy to me. I guess everyone has their own beliefs in God, so I won't shit on everyone's. But I will say, I think it's crazy that people fight over land still and do it in the name of religion. War in general is crazy. And while a little kid may think he can just take things, we were all taught and told to use our words instead of use force. And while I guess that force is necessary at some points, it didn't seem like this is one of those points. We're just doing it so we can get everyone to forget about our pedophile president. So when I think God, family, country, well, I cut God out right away because I don't believe in it. And then I cut country out of it too, because country's not on my list either. I start and I end with family. You could never pay me enough to fight anyone. I was never one of those kids who wanted to fly planes and drop bombs on people. And I grew up with a lot of kids who really wanted to do that. So to think that our dictator is talking about a draft to force kids to kill and be killed so his family and others can profit while he tried to make us forget that he did very bad things behind closed doors really gets me going. Keaton is 16, and I already told him there's no way that he would ever go to war. We'd leave the country or do something like our leader did when he avoided the military draft 5 different times. If that's not crazy enough, we now have ICE in the airports, and soon we're going to see ICE agents looking at those facial scanners at airports and taking people off planes and straight into custody. That's the direction I feel like this is going. Every day it's something new in this country, and it's not good. I mean, I'm trying to think of one good thing that's a real positive, and all I can come up with right now is the Shane McConkey Foundation. Well, I'm sure I can think of other good things going on in the world this week. That's my transition to the McConkey PMS this year. This is the 15th annual event, minus COVID and all, and I've emceed every single one of them except for last year. Last year at this point, life was terrible for me. I had just returned home with Ange after a painful month in the hospital. And I had learned how to manage her medical devices, her pain management, her medicine distribution, her emotions, her tasks, and keeping her comfortable. And then I was doing 2 jobs, and I was making sure Keaton was all set with things in life. Oh man, it was crazy. I would get an hour or 2 a day to myself when I'd leave the house and I'd go pick up medicine, or I'd go walk my dog, or I'd drive Keaton places. And I remember that I could feel a difference in energy when I'd walk back into my house. I don't know why I'm even talking about this, because I try not to even think about this shit anymore. But where I'm going with this is last year was the first time I missed this event. I didn't watch the live stream because I was with Ange, and I didn't want to have that whole FOMO thing. But I was sent a bunch of videos of Sherry putting a big slide of me on the big screen and having a crowd of like 1,000 people scream my name. And it was so cool. I mean, I've never had that. And I teared up, and I remember Ange looking at me and being like, "Why are you crying?" And I almost felt guilty showing her the video. because I was sad about missing a trip that was important to me. But really, it was more about the impact that community has had on me over the past 15 years. There are so many people in that place that I consider friends. I feel so much love every time I go there, and this year I went there with a crew. Before I tell you about that, I need to tell you about my sponsors, and man, if the show weren't winding down, I'd be bummed. See, I've stopped actively looking for sponsors, as I've had a good grip of them over the years and I'm closing down the show, so I wasn't looking for any more advertisers. I knew Insta360 was going to be up this week, and I was okay with that. I had planned for it, but what I didn't plan for is Best Day Brewing stepping away after years of support. They've been awesome, and I'll still MC events for them and make stickers for them, but podcast ads are off the table, and it's okay. Like I said, I'm ending this at 500 episodes or in the second week of 2027, and those dates are coming up fast. And I have an exciting new plan that I'll start letting you know about soon for what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. But anyways, just like that, I'm down to 3 sponsors, and soon that will be 2. But I'm in talks with another great beverage brand right now, which is really exciting. But this week, I really want to thank my best, most long-term sponsors for sticking through me through thick and thin. I'm talking about Elan Skis and Outdoor Research. And yes, I can't forget about Insta360 as well. Thank you for the support. I will say having less sponsors in this episode isn't a bad thing because I think this is going to be a short episode. Why? Well, when I got to Palisades, I went hard on recording with people out of the gate and I got 10 good sound bites. And then I was swept up in the weekend's festivities and I didn't record enough. So I got 10 clips, and I usually get double that amount, and usually they're all Shane McConkey stories. But this year, I started recording the day of the event, and then I had so much going on or I was too lazy that I stopped recording, which I think I've already said. But with what I did get, we're going to have an awesome 30 to 50 minutes of podcast, depending on how long I talk. Actually, it could be a normal episode if I have diarrhea of the mouth, which I sometimes do. But this one won't be McConkey stories. I've done that every single year. This is going to be the actual story of the weekend, and I'll be adding beta throughout to let you know what a McConkey weekend is like and why you should be there every year. So thank you again to Elan Skis, Outdoor Research, and Insta360 Videos. Now it's time to head over to Palisades, Tahoe, and the Pain McShlonkey Classic, aka the PMS. So the travel crew is me, Keaton, my 16-year-old son, Ryan Schmies, a longtime K2 artist and designer who's gone to freelance for a decade, and Mark Fankhauser, a guy who owns a piece of J Skis, and like Schmies, a really talented designer, both of which he wouldn't like you to know. Fank did the art for the McConkey PMS poster and the J Skis Stinger water ski inspired McConkey snowblade. So we traveled to Palisades with a solid crew, and we were about to meet up with so many more awesome people. We flew into Reno, and the NCAA tournament is going on. Keaton and I did brackets analog style, and while my bracket sucked, Keaton had 2 losses in the first round, and his left side of the bracket was 100%, which is crazy, but we didn't watch basketball this trip because it was all about celebrating Shane McConkey in Palisades, and there's an energy and an excitement I feel every time I drive into that valley, and it always reminds me of Shane. That's most likely because I'm coming in town to MC his event. But even though I don't believe it, I do feel his spirit every time I come out here. I think it's just the energy and vibe of that place. Anyways, Patrick Rouleau picks us up from the airport, and Patrick's an awesome guy who volunteers with a bunch of different McConkey Foundation things, and he's got an incredible backstory as well. But Patrick picks us up from the airport, and he takes us to our place in Building 1 in the Village at Palisades. The 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom place that Sherry got us in Palisades proper was incredible. She and the foundation always puts me up somewhere, sometimes at her house, sometimes at an Airbnb, and most of the times in the village. But this was by far the nicest place that I've ever stayed in. Keaton and I shared a bunk bedroom, and the bunk bed each had double mattresses. I've never been on a bunk bed like that. And we were steps away from everything. So we dropped our bags, and then we headed over to the world-famous Chamois. The Chamois opened in 1969, and it's one of the most legendary après ski bars in the world at one of the most legendary mountains. There's so much local and ski history in general on the walls at this place, and it really is one of those staples in ski culture that everyone should go to. So we hung at the Chamois for a while and had some beers outside, and then we went over to Plumpjack to meet up with Lotsie Hawk for more beers, and then dinner with someone who didn't have beers with us because he doesn't drink anymore, but I'm talking about ski industry legend Josh Lubeck, who was an athlete. Now he's with Oakley, and he's done just about everything, and he's an incredible human. So we got to spend some time with Josh, and Keaton loves Josh as well, so it was cool that we all got to reconnect again. Keaton jetted as soon as he was done eating, which was his MO this trip, and that was fine with everyone, and we kept drinking. And eventually we made our way over to the slot bar. While the chamois is an après institution with foods and kids in the circus of après, the slot is the hardcore ski bar where I end up when it's not sunny and a lot of people never leave. Ben and Scotty are behind the bar. I don't think I saw Fritz this year, but I believe he owns it, but I'm not really sure. It's a really welcoming place while there are a lot of bells being rung, shots being had, and just a solid group of people and vibe every time I go there. I left at 10, but Schmeez and Fank stayed until 2 in the morning. We got up the next day and we met up with legendary K2 rep Mike Rosen, another dude who's been on the podcast, and he gave us a spring skiing tour of Palisades, and it was awesome. What was really cool was to see Fank's excitement and reaction to the place. While he's a snowboarder, he started off skiing and he grew up loving Schmidt, Hattrip, and Plake and everything that they did in Palisades, so while he had never been here to ski, when Mike Rosen was pointing out all the different areas, Fank already knew them all from the movies, and he was stoked. It was awesome. Everything was going great until we saw a giant wiggle that they had going on in the Shirley zone. There's no reason for me to hit shit like that, just like there's no reason for me to ever go in a terrain park anymore. But like the idiot I am, I follow Keaton into the wiggle. Keaton got too much speed first, and he was spit out, and he messed up his shoulder a little bit. I'm a little bit behind him. I'm hauling ass as well. I see a bump in the middle of the wiggle, but I don't have time to react. And before I know it, I'm ass over tea kettle, my skis up in the air. I come down and tweak my knee a little bit, but I'm okay. I can ski, and I skied throughout the rest of the weekend, so I'm fine. It's just going to be sore for a month or so. And I always do that kind of shit when I do stupid stuff on the mountain. But whatever. We headed down the mountain. We had lunch. Keaton went in, and then we headed back up the mountain to meet Ben Wallace. Ben is one of my best friends. He was a longtime K2 guy, and he left Seattle about 2 years ago. It sucks that he's not in town anymore, but it was really great to see him because he's one of the funniest people I know. And I've always said, if I start another podcast with a co-host, the co-host would either be Roy Tuscany or Ben Wallace. Both are amazing. Both bring different things to the table. But anyways, we ski with Ben. And then we meet up with another Powell Movement alumni, Matt Peterson, a dude who went from pro snowboarder to Academy Snowboarding sales manager to marketing director at Boreal to running all of the marketing at the Woodward Empire for Powder Corp to running all things at Palisades Tahoe, where he's now the vice president of marketing and sales. A super heavy title. And when you meet the dude, you'll see that he's razor sharp right off the bat. He's really smart, but he's also really cool and down to earth. And I haven't met many vice presidents or snowboarders like Matt Peterson.
Matt Peterson, who is the Vice President of Marketing, is that your title? Pretty big title. You've worked your way up here. You've been on the podcast before. We talked about your incredible resume. Challenging season, huh?
Yeah, it's been highs and lows. We've had about 300 inches, which is almost our season average, and we did that in 3 storms. Only in Tahoe, my friend.
And so the beginning of the year didn't start out as planned. You have all these events like Tahoe Live, and then you don't have snow. How do you deal with that as a marketer, and how do you make things happen? Because that's your job.
I think we just make the best of every situation, you know? The love for the sport is so real. People don't come here because they like it. They come here because they love it. That's the cool thing about skiers, man. Through thick and thin, they're here for it. So we're going to do everything we can to make the best of it.
So last year you said you had Shaquille O'Neal here, and his hand, you said, engulfed yours. But how cool is that to be able to, your job, bring people like that to this mountain?
Yeah, that was our 3rd year hosting Tahoe Live. It's been an incredible partnership. This year hosted with Zed's Dead and DJ Diesel. Shaquille O'Neal, he is a monster. What a cool guy. So cool to bring pop culture and California fame all the way up here to Palisades Tahoe. I think everybody loves what we're known for, and we're always trying to broaden that market.
Awesome, man. Well, I talked to a lot of people about seeing you, and I'm like, hey, I got to meet with Matt, who runs the whole place, and like, that guy is killing it. So whatever you're doing is the right thing.
Well, it's not me, it's the team all day long. I got the best team in the business, and I couldn't be more proud to work with them.
What awards did you win this year? Because I know that's something that you like to do. Did your team win any awards?
Funny you should ask. Our deadline's tonight at midnight.
So you'll find out tomorrow?
Greg Wright and I and a couple other people on the team are getting our submissions in tonight. So hopefully we'll pull some more medals in for the brand.
All right, there we go.
So Matt is awesome, and so is his marketing director, Greg Wright, who's a longtime free skier guy who's part of Matt's award-winning team. After we met up with Matt, we walked the 60 steps from the sun deck to our place, put on our shoes, and then we were back out on the sun deck a minute later. We then met up with Sherry McConkey and the McConkey Foundation team and loaded up all the boxes with all the stuff that was needed to make the PMS happen. While I'm there to work on a microphone and help out wherever else I can, Keaton is there helping out to get school credit. So hurt shoulder or not, he was going to work for those hours, and we made him carry boxes up and down stairs. We did that for a bit, then we all went out and had dinner, and then Schmeez, Ben Wallace, and I went out to do one song for karaoke. And my deal with karaoke this year is I'm only going to sing songs that I've never sung before. And when I say sing, it's usually rap or scream. And this week I did Kick in the Door by Biggie Smalls, a very hard song to pull off, but I think I crushed it. So I felt good about that. And then I went back to bed, as the next morning we had to be up at 7 a.m. for the most important event in skiing, the Pain McShlonkey Classic. Morning came fast, and one of my favorite parts of the McConkey weekend is the whole registration process. It starts by walking through the village at 7 in the morning and looking around at people dressed in the most insane costumes, carrying snowblades and getting ready to be really, really weird. It's like the pregame warm-up to a day of partying. But first you need to sign your life away, and then folks are pre-gaming and getting dressed. And some folks are dressed as mushrooms, other folks are dressed as little pieces of white paper with art on them, some folks are dressed like trees and ghillie suits, there are saucer boys complete with fake Jack Daniel bottles in their pockets, and then there was Schmeez and Fank. I'll put a picture of them in my Instagram, but Fank had an inflatable alien as his costume, and Schmeez had an incredible wig, an American leather jacket, and acid-wash jeans. Fank's goal was just not to finish last. But Schmeez, he was all cocky. I mean, Schmeez is a really great skier, but he's never snowbladed. And he really thought he was going to be in the top half of the group. That's what he was saying at dinner the night before. But really, in Tahoe, everyone is a great skier. And Fank, he's a snowboarder, and he most likely had the least experience on two planks as anyone in the event. And second, snowblading is a different animal altogether than alpine skiing. Ryan Schmeez learned that the hard way in the race. It sounds like Fank learned that really early when he took a big digger on the way to the race start, but it was at registration where I did most of my interviewing, and the first person that I saw this morning was Mike Rosen, who had a lot going on that day. He had the McConkey, a ski demo, and his wife's birthday. All a recipe for disaster for Mike because he was going to have to spend a lot of time away from his wife on her birthday, but I'm sure he made everything work out. Mike is on the board of directors of the McConkey Foundation, and he has a lot to do with course design, and I asked him about the changes that needed to be made for the conditions that are going on at Palisades.
So it is 7:30 in the morning. I'm at the Olympic House here at Palisades, Tahoe, standing with K2 rep extraordinaire Mike Rosen. Mike, you're involved in creating the course here at the Pain McShlonkey, the most important event in skiing. And this year, things had to change. What's the deal with the course?
It's going to be amazing. You have to understand, every year we put months and months of effort. Palisades Tahoe goes above and beyond trying to create a course for this event, and this year is no change to that. It's just amazing. We're going to be coming down Mountain Run from the bottom of Headwall Chair. It's going to be a sprint. These guys are going to have to really dig deep to get out in front. Then it's going to drop. There's going to be some speed. It's going to be icy. It's going to have some turns, and then it's going to hit the base area right in front of KT, and then they're going to have to run. And I do mean run uphill with their blades on. If you take your blades off, you're disqualified. So it's a modified course, but it will be exciting. It will be able to be viewed from the bottom. And we hope there's no carnage, but we hope there's some real racing.
And there's going to be a lot of dirt on the course from what I've seen. How is that going to affect our racers?
Oh, I don't think there's any dirt. Our crew here at Palisades Tahoe, they're amazing. I wouldn't be surprised if they were out there injecting, just like a World Cup, and packing snow. This course will be in amazing condition.
It's time for my first sponsor break, and I'm going to start with longtime sponsor Elan Skis. And if you haven't skied on an award-winning ripstick yet, you're missing out on something that ski brands have long said wasn't an option. A lightweight ski that powers through anything and truly rips. It's game-changing. And Elan, while they've been around for 80 years, have been changing the game of modern skiing by doing things like adding side cut to straight skis with the Elan SCX, which changed the whole industry. They're building skis by skiers in a place with ski culture in the Slovenian Alps. And most importantly, they're supporting local shops. When the competition goes and starts selling direct, Elan sticks by their retailers who have been by them since the beginning. Elan is just built differently, and they innovate with a purpose, and that's to make your on-snow experience better, easier, and more fun. It's this approach that brought you the Ripstick and all of their award-winning skis. And when you're in the market for a new pair, visit an Elan retailer, demo a pair of their skis, and you'll know why Elan has built a cult following here in the States. To find out more about all the skis or to find an Elan dealer, head on over to elanskis.com. Now it's time to jump back into the podcast. A guy who knows all about injection, course injection that is one of the greatest ski racers of our time, a guy who's the first American since Billy the Kid and Phil Mayer to win the Hahnenkamm, the most important ski race in the world, a champion jet skier, an Olympian, a podcast guest, and a former winner of this event. Daron Rahlves has his Rahlves Bonsai series coming up in a couple weeks, and I was able to talk to Daron about what his thoughts were about today.
We've got Lotzi and D-Money, Daron Rahlves here. Daron, you've won the Hahnenkamm, but this race, I think we said, it has a little bit more meaning than that, right?
It does. I mean, this is a big, big deal here at Palisades Tahoe. I mean, we got the defending champ over your shoulder here, Donnie Pelletier, looking all casual and everything. So I'm trying to bring the heat today, but
freaking Daryl doesn't stand a chance.
Well, you know, I saw a post from the McConkey Foundation, and it was who is going to win? Is it going to be D-Money or is it going to be Donnie? And then Nate Holland jumped in there, and he said something to the effect of, there is no way that Donnie can take what Daron is bringing to the table. So that was a quote from Nate Holland. But you've been done this in how many years?
I can't remember. Unfortunately, I had a lot of other stuff that was going on the same weekend, but I have one golden saucer at the house.
Okay.
It's in the backyard. It's getting sun every day, you know. And I say it's probably been in 10 years. The first one I ever did, maybe it was the first one ever, Shane had a pile of K2 snowboards outside the tram. I mean, a pile. Just like grab one, grab another ski. We got to the top of the high camp, and he's lining everybody up, and, like a line, shoulder to shoulder. And he came down like 50 feet below, and he's like, all right, everybody ready? The rules, there are no rules. From here to Dave's Deli, 10 seconds, and then he turns around and just goes.
That's awesome.
It was just like, everybody was grabbing each other, you know, and there was so much carnage on the start line. And I was chasing Shane down, could never catch him.
There we go.
So,
well,
yeah, he's got the ultimate win. But, this is a super fun event. Looking forward to it, and just trying to, hang with all the studs and studettes around here.
Do you have your own modified blades like you did that one year when you snapped them?
Yeah. I got some blades from a buddy of mine, some spicy chipotle bananas.
Okay.
Some moments.
All right.
I just got them, and then I got a secret sauce, so I got them ground yesterday here from Dave Curtis, Palisades Rental Shop, so they got a nice fresh spring grind.
All right, well, that's how the pros do it, and we'll see how Daron does on the course today. Thank you.
Daron was my prediction to win the event, and I won't spoil it for you yet. But the next person I have coming up is the most important person of the weekend, other than the dead person that we came here to honor. Sherry McConkey is one incredible human. While Shane was this personality that really I've never seen in anyone else that I've ever met in my entire life, he was fun, he was hilarious, and he made everyone feel like they were one of his best friends, part of his inner circle. And I only knew him for a few years. Sherry has become way more important in my life over the years. She's always been there for me or anyone else that's needed her. Even though she's the one that has gone through the hardest of times almost first, before anyone else died, it was like that Shane died. I'm sure other people died before him, but she was the first one that I really knew that had to experience the loss of a loved one and a partner that she lived with every day. I can't imagine how tough that was for her to have Shane taken away from her right away, and I can't imagine how tough it is every year celebrating Shane's life and legacy. Because while I did Angapalooza last year, you're not going to catch me doing that every single year because just the emotions of it would be so hard. But Sherry is such a strong person, and she's able to pull this thing off every year. And while Sherry doesn't like talking on a microphone that much, I was able to get a soundbite with her to talk about what her concerns were on this 15th annual McConkey PMS Day.
Sherry McConkey, you're eating breakfast at 7:30 in the morning. What are you worried about today?
Well, as always, I'm always just want everyone to make it down in one piece and not get hurt.
That's what you're worried about?
Yeah.
And then everything else we have dialed?
It's like a well-oiled machine so far, we have a competitor with the last name Dick.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're going to have fun with that. And
Yeah.
He's an awesome guy.
What's his first name? It doesn't even matter?
No, it doesn't. I mean, his name's Dick. So
is he a big guy, like a big dick?
No, he's really...
He's like a little dick?
He's hairy.
And he's a hairy, small
he's got
dick.
the same, mustache as you.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's got the Fu Manchu.
The Fu Manchu. And he's fantastic. It's his real last name.
I mean, Dick isn't that uncommon of a last name.
It's
but
not?
No, I think there's a lot of dicks out there.
I mean, there's
in
a
this
lot
country
of dicks
for
out
sure,
there.
yeah.
There's one particular dick.
Funny thing is, while I had a lot of great one-liners on the mic in my opinion, I didn't make one dick joke at the event or see that dick for that matter. I'm glad Sherry didn't remind me because that could have made me cross the line with dick jokes, and I pride myself on straddling the line, not crossing it. So no dick jokes for me. Speaking of dicks, the next person I came up on was Donnie Peltier, and he's a favorite to win the race today, and he's the furthest thing from a dick. But really, Donnie's like the third best skier and second best mogul skier on the mountain most days, so he does have a chance. But people really didn't want Donnie to win, and they were pretty vocal about it.
Donnie Peltier, you've won this thing twice. You're gearing up right now. How are you feeling this morning? I know you sent it last night.
Yeah, feeling pretty confident. Had a Moxie first thing this morning, shotgunned that, so it should be no problem.
So I met your parents last night, and while you have this big personality, it's like your parents party harder than you do.
Yeah, they definitely know how to hold it down for sure, so I try to keep up with them as best I can.
And so with your training and stuff, do your parents kind of teach you to send it from both ends? Like, hey, Donnie, we're going to go out and we're going to go really big tonight, and then you're going to go win the race tomorrow. Is that how you were brought up?
Yeah, we just kind of don't do anything half-assed, you know what I mean? So we kind of, whatever it is, whether we're building, road construction or skiing and, having a couple beverages, we like to have a good time.
Donnie has no chance.
And I hear a lot
of his big game. He can't get his ski boots on.
And I hear a lot of people saying that they're not even going for the win this year. They're going to make sure that you don't get the win. What do you have to say to that?
Well, they can try, but I'm going to be way out front, so they ain't even going to be able to catch me.
All right, well, we'll see. We got Daron Rahlves right behind you. He says he's got no chance, but then you're saying Daron's got no chance. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Find out.
So that was Donnie Peltier, and I think I pronounce his name differently and wrong every time I say it. I wish it were easy like Squirrel Murphy or something, but whatever. I may get Donnie on the podcast for a Battle of Maine's Greatest Athletes episode in the near future. I'm talking with his people, and we should be able to make that happen. A brand that supports Donnie and that has really come on to support the McConkey Foundation is Pit Viper. They are everywhere here at the McConkey, and this has a huge deal with the people that they seem to send here. I don't know what Barb or Cam's titles are, but I know that Barb buys stickers from me, which you can do too, and does a lot of cool marketing shit over at Pit Viper, and she gets to go on trips like the McConkey to represent the brand. I think Cam's been there even longer than Barb, and he has a better job. But really, I don't know, because they're both bosses when they travel to this event, and they have the funniest costumes, vibes, and attitudes of everyone. This year, their costume changed, but they both rocked it, and they both kill it on snowblades. And here's what Cam had to say about costumes and everything going into the race.
Cam, you and Barb, I've been to this event before. I met you guys here. You guys used to come here strapped with babies to your chests, but now you have a business look, and it's Pit Viper business look. What's going on?
We are here on business, and we are taking it seriously this year.
Is there any chance that you guys are going to win?
There's a great chance we're going to win. And, if we don't win the race, we always win the party. So that's what really matters.
And we win the hearts.
Yes.
And so you and Barb come here from Pit Viper, and you guys work as a team, right? Like to try to take out the others?
Every year.
That's right. We take everyone out.
The key to business is teamwork.
All right, there we go. Teamwork. That's how Pit Viper sells.
After Cam, it was time to go over the rules, and I pretty much just stuck out my mic and prayed that I got good enough sound so you could hear what things are like when they're serious in the world of PMS.
Hi everybody, thank you again for coming. All those who come year after year mean so much to me, to all the newcomers. I'm stoked. So the course is stuff. Jimmy King, the man, is going to give us a lecture on how it's going to partake. It's changed a lot, obviously, due to this crazy weather. So my biggest thing is, remember this is a family resort. We have to respect this family resort, and because there's a lot of children, and I don't want to get kicked out of Palisades. And if we do, I will snip your balls off personally, or whatever you have dangling. Okay. And then the other thing is, this is about Shane. And even though Salsa Boy looked like he drank a lot, he didn't. So just have fun, like as much as you can, without getting too obliterated on the race. And I mean, unless you already are, but try not to. But have fun, and remember, this is all about Shane, and we want this to continue every single year. This is one of the best fundraisers. It's one of the best days of the year, and you guys are the best for showing up, having fun, and making it so special. So thank you for coming again. It really means a lot to me, and Shane would be so proud of this. So thank you.
Okay, so we are going to go up Washishu. So please, as soon as this is over, head out at 8. We want to be loaded and go up. Patrol will meet you at the top, escort you down to the start, which will be at the bottom head wall chair. Okay. Hang on, hang on.
I don't know what it means either.
I hope most of you have been stretching and are ready to run. Okay? I do want to make the point that while yes, we would love to run KT, we would love to run a bigger course, but Palisades Tahoe did a lot of work just so that we can actually have a race this year. So the start's going to be pretty wide. So be prepared to, if you want to get out in front, you're going to have to sprint. Kind of get into your speed skating Olympic if you're going to be running. Then it's going to go down. It should be pretty damn fast because it is icy. There will be some turns. You'll come across the base area above KT, and then it is an uphill. Do not take your blades off. That is a disqualification. Hold on.
Sorry, I'm safe.
Uphill through the arch. Okay? There's no drinking. There's no drugs. And then remember, the first rule is there are no rules. But as Sherry said, don't fuck it up for everyone. Have a good time, and remember, it's a privilege that they allow us to hold this event, so we want to keep it going. Remember, up to Washishu, be ready to load, be ready to race. Jimmy?
So, the most important thing is we would like to continue this. So we don't want anybody to, number one, get hurt. We want you to all go home just how you are right now. No arms, no legs, no backs, no heads, nothing. Please, nobody get hurt. We want you to go home like this.
I'll do my best.
Do your best. Do your very best. This is for Sherry. That's what you really need to think about. So, think about it, be smart, make good decisions, make smart decisions, and if you've got a problem, don't be afraid to raise your hand and we'll work with it. So, safety is number one. This is the key. No injuries, please. So, we want to do this again, year after year after year. So, don't fuck it up. Thank you. Thank you.
While the goal is for everyone to have as much fun as possible, that meeting needs to be had because at the end of the day, everyone knows that there are no rules except for not to fuck things up so bad that it never happens again. And I think that's one thing that all the athletes recognize is that they don't want to mess this up for future generations who can come here and compete in the PMS. But now is the time for all of them to get their early ups, and some years it's a real privilege when there's 3 feet of snow out there and people have been lined up in the KT line since 6 in the morning to try to get first chair, and then all the snowbladers get to cut the line for the McConkey PMS. Oh, it's something that's really funny to watch, and I can also imagine very frustrating for those in line. But it is a privilege to get those early ups, and for me, this is when I head to the start house to see if anyone has a mic set up. I'd say that 3 of the 14 years that I've emceed this event, there hasn't been a mic. And the people who are supposed to have the mics for me, they apologize, but I don't care. In those years, especially the early years, there were 2 different on-snow events that I had to MC. There was a costume contest and a gala. I was literally talking for 5 hours on a mic each event, by myself for most of it. But this year, things were dialed, and before the race started, I ran into another one of my favorite people in the Valley, Mike Rogge, his wife Megan, and their 2 kids. Mike's got the biggest magazine in the business. He's the one who brought back the Mountain Gazette, and if you're a print reader, you should subscribe. But Mike has lived in the area a long time now, and he's raced this event many times, and of course, I had to get a soundbite about his first experience.
Mike Rogge, we are at the finish here at the Pain McShlonkey. And Mike, you told me that your first time at the Pain McShlonkey, you were up at the start gate and you were nervous. And tell me what they did to make you feel comfortable.
So I just moved here from New York. I'm a huge fan of Rob and Scott Gaffney. And Rob looked at me, Powell, and he said, "It's okay, Rogge, don't worry. Like, Daron Rahlves is here, I'm here, my brother's here, but you're going to be fine. Like, it's all good." And he totally, like, calmed my nerves. And then the start gun went off, and he hooked my leg and tripped me and said, "See you later, bro," and shredded away from me. And, yeah, so there are no rules. And, yeah, it's a good memory of Rob on an awesome day to remember all of our friends.
What is your best experience or your best finish here at the McConkey?
So one year there was a huge POW day, and honestly, like, for the people that lined up at 4 a.m. on KT, to have a bunch of idiot snowboardbladers walk in front of them for first tracks, Rachel Burks and I were at the top. We kind of assessed the situation and realized we just weren't going to win. The odds were not in our favor. So she looked at me, handed me a beer, start gun went off. We sat down, we slowly drank a beer, caught up, and we were the last two competitors down. That was my favorite. But every year it's anyone's game. I'm really excited to see who wins this year. My money's on Troy if he's, Donnie Pelletier if he's in it.
I've got my money on Daron Rahlves, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, Uncle Daron's in it? Yeah.
Darren's.
Sorry, I'm changing that. Daron's going to win.
Okay, here we go.
It's time for my second round of sponsors, and I'm going to start out with Outdoor Research. I could spend a lot of this ad telling you all the tech and why Outdoor Research is better. But know that in the 1980s and the early 90s, Outdoor Research built a reputation on functional quality outdoor gear that pushed the limits of innovative possibilities. And those who were function first were all about OR gear because it was and it still is built better, and Outdoor Research is still pushing those limits of innovation. This year, the outerwear focuses on 3 new collections: the Cloud Chaser for backcountry and the Powderverse and Hemisphere collections for freeride, as well as some staples in the line like the Snow Crew collection. These outerwear systems are styled for and by athletes like Mark Adma, Troy Podnelsak, Zoe Aitken, snowboarder Neil Provo, and others, and that's why this outerwear collection not only looks so good, but each piece is more functional than ever, and they're all you're going to need in any conditions. To find out more about the new collection, head on over to OutdoorResearch.com. Next up, it's Insta360 action cameras, the only 360 camera that matters these days. These are the best action cameras on the market. They capture everything around you in 8K 360-degree video. It's next to impossible to miss the shot, and your footage won't be shaky thanks to the super smooth stabilization system, which is so important when you're on the mountain. Insta360 developed their X5 and X4 Air cameras with skiers and snowboarders in mind, which means they feature a freeze-proof design, batteries with longer run times, and a super durable design that will have you getting footage from the park to powder. And when it comes to editing that footage, Insta360's proprietary editing program makes it easier than ever to create Hollywood-level content or just a simple edit for you and your friends to enjoy. It's easy. Insta360 is the best action camera on the market, and for listening to the Powell Movement, they're going to give you a special offer. When you head on over to Insta360.com, they're holding a ski bundle sale for their flagship 360-degree action cameras, including the X5 and X4 Air cameras. When you're at checkout after you make your purchase, enter the code POWELL, that's capital P-O-W-E-L-L, and you're going to get a free ski pole mount from the good folks at Insta360 Cameras. Those are my sponsors. Now it's time to jump back into the podcast. So while we all thought that legend Daron Rahlves would get the win, there was a reason that he didn't get the win. And I got the secret information from a dude who's been an up-and-comer forever, but he's finally here. Tyler Curle is a rad dude that I've known for like 12 years or so now, which is crazy. I think there was even a time where he talked shit to me on the internet, and I always mess with him on the microphone. But he's such an awesome kid that's grown into an adult, and here's what he had to say about the event right after it ended.
Tyler Curle, you got 4th place, which is your best finish ever in this thing, I would think, but I'm not 100% sure. But you said the start was a little bit different this year. What happened?
To correct you, I've gotten 3rd twice, and my first time I had long hair, and you thought I was a chick. But at the start, right off the bat, it was hectic as always. Started at the head wall, chairlift load, had to, with blades on, run up the hill 200 feet around a pole. That pole was immediately grabbed and then taken. So it was all chaotic, herd of cats going like crazy. Down the mountain run, it was icy and hectic. And then I was careless, filming Ayla, saying, ha ha ha, look how cool this is. And then here comes Daron Rahlves flying by me like he's
been in a ski race or something before. And then came in, I got 4th, first loser. Not my best finish, but, I do other competitions. But
you've had a big year.
Big year, going for the Freeride World Tour. Hopefully by the time this comes out, it's going to be like, yeah, we're doing it. So it's a future me. Good luck.
Tyler is a really good dude, and I really hope he makes the tour because he's been bleeding for this forever, and he's that good. But it all has to work out on contest day, and this year has been his year, so who knows? He mentioned filming Ayla, and we went out to dinner with Shane's daughter Ayla the night before the event. She's a sophomore at the University of Hawaii, and she was home for spring break and for the PMS, and usually when I would see her, she was tiny and she was shy and she was nice, but she was awkward like in a little kid's way. And I don't blame her for being awkward around me because I'm an idiot half the time. But this time I hadn't seen her in 2 years and she was so grown up and she was confident and she was her own person. And that was so cool to see. And I asked her at dinner, being in Hawaii, do you miss skiing at all? And she was like, Powell, nope, not at all. She's more into biking and climbing, and I asked her about the race because she was in it. I'm like, how are you going to do tomorrow? And she said, yeah, I'll be happy if I get 3rd or 4th. I'm not trying to go for the win. But anyways, the way the race went, like Tyler said, they had to run to a pole. But Ayla knew, like the men's winner Teelan and the women's winner Magnolia knew, and a lot of other people knew, that the only rules about the McConkey PMS are there are no rules. So when everyone else ran to the pole, they all started down the mountain. But here's what makes what Daron Rahlves did so impressive. When you watch the replay, first, Daron does cheat too. I mean, he races to the pole because the deal is you race 20 yards up to this pole, a ski safety pole, and go around the pole and start running down. But Daron, he sprints up to the pole and he takes the pole. So not only does it cause chaos for all the other people who are running and trying to go around the pole, he wasn't really doing it to be funny. He was doing it to put him in a racer position. And he gets into perfect position and he's starting from the back. He must pass 30 people on his way to his 2nd place finish. And if you watch a video, because there's a follow cam video of what Daron was doing, the way he keeps passing and passing and passing people, it is incredible. You can see how much better of a skier he is than everybody else, especially with that pole that puts him in that position and how he's just sitting on those quads and what an athlete he must be. But coming into the place where you sprint around the arch, he's in 4th or 5th place, and he bends a short ski, which not that many people are able to do, and he carves a turn that slingshots him up into 2nd place, and then he's so close to getting to 1st place, and when Teelan grabs that golden saucer, well, Daron Rahlves puts a perfect form tackle on him and drops him like a linebacker would drop a running back. And from there, it is pandemonium on the finish line. It is so many people getting stacked up on the finish, like a finish I've never seen before. And it was so much fun. And then when you look out at the crowd, usually we have a couple hundred people down there, and there's a lot of people watching because this is the most important event that happens at the Palisades Tahoe. Yes, they've had World Cups and a lot of other events. I mean, this year the Olympics were happening, but to all of these athletes, there is nothing more important than winning this golden saucer. And the fans that we had this time, it was as deep as a World Cup event. 30 deep at the ski fencing. Everywhere you looked, it was pandemonium watching these snowbladers come down this mountain for the best finish arguably in the history of the Pain McShlonkey. So it was quite amazing. And when Daron came around the end, he also still had that pole in his hand, and he took that pole and he threw it like a javelin, and it must have landed like 5 feet from me. And we are lucky that it didn't hit anybody because that might have been really bad. But you know what? Daron Rahlves was going for the win, and he didn't get the win. He was the first loser, and that happens not that often to Daron, but hopefully his whole event, because he's doing a bonsai series, it's back, and hopefully they have snow to do it, because I don't know if I mentioned, but the snow is very bare here. I haven't really taken a break from talking. I'm just going to spit a whole bunch of stuff. What else do I have to say about this? Our winner was Teelan and Magnolia. Cam Hoffman from Pit Viper was there. He also placed. I can't remember who took 3rd for the women, and I feel bad about that, but I do remember that she's won a golden saucer before, so it doesn't really matter that I can't remember her name on the podcast because she has won a golden saucer, and that means she is better than almost everyone else on the mountain. The rest of the day was spent alternating between shredding the mountain and drinking at the slot bar, but I wasn't doing that. I had to be a dad, and I set Keaton up to go skiing on the mountain solo. He was psyched. But about 45 minutes to an hour later, I get a call. Dad, can you let me in? I hurt my hand. And I'm like, oh shit, this could be a problem. I might have to deal with this for most of the day, but I definitely have to be on the mic in 2 or 3 hours. So I come down and Keaton's hand is so bloody, but it's only like 3 different cuts. He took a tumble into some rocks and he wasn't wearing gloves and sliced up his hands. I had to go buy some $25 Band-Aids and Neosporin. I got him dialed, and then I headed back over to the event with Keaton. I got him set up selling raffle tickets because that was his gig, and I was getting ready to do my thing. Now, at these events, I usually don't wear costumes. All the athletes and competitors do. I usually wear funny t-shirts because a long time ago, I stopped wearing free t-shirts with logos and I started buying vintage t-shirts. And this is before vintage t-shirts were all super expensive. So I have like 300 stupid t-shirts. And I wear those usually instead of wearing a costume. But this year, I went all in and rocked the shortest tennis shorts I've ever worn. They had liners in them, and it made wearing underwear kind of weird and uncomfortable. But at this event, it's one of those events where I was anticipating that someone was going to pull my shorts down. And there's kids and adults on this sun deck, and there might be 1,000 people out there, and there's a video camera on me with a live stream, and the last thing I needed was for my junk to be shown anywhere. I've always told Keaton, don't take pictures of your junk or anything like that and send it to people. It can only get you in trouble. But can you imagine if I was just doing my job and someone tried to be funny, and next thing you know, I'm naked on the internet? The last time I was seen by a large crowd of people naked was my bris, and that was to have a surgical procedure done in front of a lot of people for my religion, which is super weird. But now that I don't believe in religion, and even if I did believe in religion, I still would not be getting naked on the internet or at a live event like that. So I was able to put some spandex-like shorts on that did make it uncomfortable. I had super short shorts on. I wore an Andre Agassi type shirt, and I looked like a tennis player. I don't know if it looked cool or not. When I see pictures of myself, I look like a total loser, but whatever. I'm sure if you were at the right angle, you probably saw more than you wanted, but what would Shane do? What I did was kill the event, and while I'm a little cocky when it comes to the podcast because I think it's pretty good, I'm way better at live events. And if you want your event to have high energy that no one else brings, I'm your guy. And it's not the voice you get here on the podcast or anything like that. I kind of flip a switch, and that's why I'm always hired back to events when I do them. If I had a bigger name or was cooler, I'd have all the jobs. But the worst guys can have them, and your events won't be as good. Give me one chance and you'll be like, holy shit, that was amazing. But anyway, the McConkey events are always great if you've been there. It's all because of Shane and Sherry, but I like to think I add a lot of value too. My grade for myself was a B+, so pretty good. A run of show issue in the beginning that no one noticed or cared about was really the only hiccup. I was funny, but sometimes I'm funnier. But I'm not telling jokes or anything like that. I'm just kind of playing on the crowd and what's going on at the event. Then the event ends. I go back to regular Mike. I walk the 40 steps back to our place. I see Keaton. I asked if he checked out the event. He was like, oh, I sold my raffle tickets and then I was out of here. I mean, he could care less to see me on the microphone, but whatever. 3 minutes later, I'm having beers with the entire crew. It's the Wallace brothers, a bunch of Smeeze's neighbors that he drinks and skis with who are awesome. And we hang out there until we walk over to the Chamois. And while the sun deck felt like an insane party, the chamois felt like Europe. Girls in bikinis on shoulders pouring drinks down their fronts, and guys down low catching them in their mouths like a beer luge. It was crazy. I didn't know that happened in this country other than at Daytona Beach or some spring break place. And I know because I did spring break in Daytona Beach once. And the highlight of that is that it crossed over with Biker Week. So in Daytona Beach in 1993, while all the college kids were looking up at the wet t-shirt contest, yelling, show your tits, because that's what happened in 1993, all the bikers were yelling, hide the finger, hide the finger. I will never forget that. I thought that was very funny in a disgusting kind of way. So that did not happen there, but I felt like I should bring it up. After that, we went and had another huge dinner at 22 with Sherry and a great crew. Then more drinking, friend making, and having a good time. It was a super fun day, and 2 of my favorite people made it happen, Sherry McConkey and Shane McConkey, so thank you both. Sunday was a really fun day too. A lot of skiing, a lot of Keaton and I scaring ourselves courtesy of Schmeez, and a great crew. Then we went to see the High Fives Foundation's big fundraising event, the Mothership Classic. And more importantly, we got to see Maddie, Becca, Jesse, and Roy. They're all such cool and great people, really making a difference in the world where a lot of us don't. But these guys actually have an impact on people's lives and make them better, and I appreciate all the things they do and love everything about the High Fives Foundation. I also got to see J-Raw, a high five athlete who's insane and a really cool guy. He's been on the podcast as well. Another podcast alum, Uncle E, and a few others that day. When we got done skiing, it was time to return the skis that Rosen set up for us at the shop. And since I got the skis pretty much for free, and when I say pretty much, they were totally free, I was going to return the favor by getting them some beer. So I was going to get them 2 cases of beer, or really I was going to get them $100 worth of beer because I figured that was what they should do because I know the rental skis were more than that. But $100 worth of beer in the village of Palisades, Tahoe was only 2 cases of beer. So I got them 2 cases of beer, and I thanked Trent and his crew for the skis. Then it was back to the Sun Deck for the High Fives Foundation Awards, which Roy killed. I also saw Mike AK, a guy I've seen for 15 years now, and he's an older dude, and he's always hanging out at all the McConkey events and skiing in them, and he's always just handing out candy, and I really didn't know his backstory, and sometimes when older people hand out candy, especially if they're driving vans, I have no idea what Mike drives, but sometimes that can be creepy, but whatever, I know Sherry wouldn't have creepy people hanging around us, and I will tell you that the candy Mike hands out is some of the world's finest that he imports at his main job owning a candy shop, I think in Tahoe Village or Tahoe City or Tahoe somewhere. I've never been there. Anyway, Mike was a badass skier and he told us a little bit about that, and then I was like, I should break out my microphone and get our last soundbite, so here is what Mike AK had to say about the McConkey events of old.
I'm here with Mike AK. I know you as the candy man pretty much of this whole area because you have all the best candies in the world. That's one of your gigs. You have like 3 different things going on. You let me know that you used to be a speed skier back in the day, traveling the world to speed ski. But what I thought was coolest was that you have been to 17 downhills here at the PMS, and you were at the ones with McConkey when he was alive. And how is the finish different in those original PMSs than we have here today?
It was a little bit easier because one time the finish was right at the bottom of KT, so he was just a schuss. And then the first year was the roughest because we had to run to the chamois over the grass, and Shane was holding the saucer on the bench. He was on crutches because he was injured that year. Then he came back the next year, snuck out of the start first with Daron Rahlves hot on his tail. He took first, Daron behind him like 5 feet. And that was one of the greatest races ever.
And this year, you were in 3rd place coming into the end. And I don't want to talk about age, but in terms of age there, you're one of the older competitors, and you were in 3rd place coming in. Do you have these kids? Do you kind of just have the secret sauce?
Oh, well, it just feels so good. I knew I wasn't going to maintain that lead to the podium, but man, it felt so good being out in front, just magic. And I can't replace that feeling. And thank you, PMS, Shane McConkey Foundation, for just the greatest event and the most fun I've ever had in my life. Thank you.
After that, it was a night of pizza, doing a hot tub tour of the village building hot tubs with Keaton, and then met up with the crew for another beer, high fives, hugs, and saying goodbye until next time. It was another fun day and night. We woke up early, and Patrick came to pick us up and take us to the airport. On the way home, we had a really good breakfast at the Donner Lake Kitchen, and before we were saying bye to Sherry, it was time to settle up, and Sherry and Fank were fighting over who was going to pay the bill. And this fight got so bad, although it wasn't bad at all, they're just trying to grab each other's credit card, but they both spilled water, or one of them spilled water. They both ended up wet. Sherry ended up winning and paying the bill. And then we hugged, said goodbye, thank you so much, and it was amazing. Patrick took us to the airport. We ended up seeing Skogan Sprang there, and we didn't see any ice. What a day, what a trip, what a crew. You know what? While experiences are great, to me it's the people that make everything. And even though I don't see a lot of the crew I was hanging out with for whatever reasons, I love them all, and I really enjoy the shit out of hanging out with them. And the Tahoe community, over the past 15 years, they really have made coming to Tahoe, and Palisades especially, feel like home. It's an awesome feeling, and I thank all the people there for that. I thank everyone for the whispers of sorry about Ange and the extra tight hugs. It was like not too much where I wanted to cry. It was more like, I understand what you're going through, man. Let's have an awesome weekend. So thank you so much for that. I felt the love, and I only teared up once the whole weekend, and that was when Shmeez, Fank, and I went up to the Eagle, and I put a YOLO sticker up there. I was putting it on the base, and I was thinking about maybe Ange and Shane might have high-fived up there, and my eyes started welling up thinking about that. Like, oh, maybe they did see each other up there. But then I realized to myself that I don't believe in any of that shit, and I don't think they high-fived up there, but everybody else can believe whatever they want. My opinion is maybe it didn't happen, maybe that shit happens, maybe it doesn't, I just don't believe in it. But either way, I also felt bad about putting the YOLO sticker on the base of the Eagle, but there was like 3 other dead people stickers there, and there was space for another dead person. Ange and Shane knew each other, not well by any means, but like I said, Shane made everybody feel like they knew them, and Ange felt that way so much that she suggested that we name our son's middle name Shane after Shane McConkey because he was so funny when she sat next to him at a wedding a long, long time ago. What an amazing guy, what an amazing community, and it was just a really, really cool thing to be a part of. What's also crazy to me is how celebrating one dead person can help me get over celebrating a person I had die almost 9 months to the day of the event, which is super weird to think about after the fact. But like I said, whatever, life is life, that happens. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, everyone, for listening. At this point, I hope you don't mind me just talking for most of this show. I'd love for you to tell me if you liked it or not, or if you thought it was lame. Either way, send me an email at mike@thepowellmovement.com or a comment on social media or a message on social media and let me know. Also, please rate and review me wherever you listen, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. I really do get stoked reading the reviews and it makes me feel good about myself, and I need all the things that I can possibly get to make me feel good about myself these days. Actually, I don't need them, but I do like them. I also like it when you 5-star review me or everything like that. It also helps an algorithm, which I don't know how to explain, and I don't think anybody knows how to explain it to me. But I have to do one final thing, and that is not only to thank you for listening, but to thank my incredible sponsors who make this show happen. I've only got my 2 most loyal, greatest sponsors left, and they are Outdoor Research and Elan Skis. If you are looking to sponsor the best podcast in skiing for the past decade and outside of skiing and just great interviews all around, let me know, and mike@thepowellmovement.com. Have a great week, everyone.